righty. What is going on, everybody? It is another day, another wonderful springtime. Spring is in the air. This is Revive and Drive podcast. I'm your host, Brad Larson. This is co-host and the one, the only, the infamous Charles Irby.
Hey, everybody. Good to hear you. Good to hear from you.
Today we have a guest who actually went through Charles's program, per se Jack, because I would say his last name, but I don't know how to say it, and it's just Jack. He's been telling me, and I'm just like over here, just like, yeah, no, we're just gonna keep it Jack, keep it simple. Anyway, Jack, tell us about yourself and what brings you on, and everything else in between.
Hey, my name is Jack Sigworth. I'm 24 years of age. I live in Dayton, Ohio. I got my CDL back in May because I thought it'd be a good avenue, kind of a great like mediator. Anyone can become a truck driver, and it could open a lot of doors for me. And just finished step 4 with Mr. Charles, hoping to complete my return to duty tomorrow. And yeah, I actually found Mr. Charles from one of your videos, so it's probably the best. It's not great what happened to me, but meeting Mr. Charles probably kind of like God's plan kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's good. You know, Charles, I can relate to him, man. The fact that it took a trucking company to tell me about you and how awesome you are, man. But I had once we found out, like, oh, I can get this done so quick, I had to share him to the world, and I knew this would happen. And I'm so grateful. I said one day this is gonna help somebody. One day, like it did.
I'm really grateful for both of you guys and everybody out there that can hear us. You know, going through the SAP process, it's not an easy thing for a person, especially, you know, when you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's up, nobody's talking to you. Then you have to pick out some stranger to help you, and you don't know what he's about. Can you trust him or her? And so I'm glad you guys called me, and I appreciate it.
You know, it's funny that you talk about the strangers and if we should call them. When we had our last show, we were talking about some people on the internet, like some SAP drivers, like, because we're on the internet, or not drivers, I'm sorry, counselors. We're on the internet, but I guess there's certain SAP counselors that can be your stranger after they get your money, and they gotta watch out for them, you know. So kind of lost my train of thought.
Jack, have you ran into anybody that was a little shady?
No, I didn't even like look at any other SAPs, or I wasn't even going to go through the process until I found you and your videos.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So, what's your plan after the SAP program?
After the SAP program, just plan to get my CDL back and keep it current, just because I was always told through truck driving school and all that no matter what you go and do, keep your CDL current, because it's absolutely you can always fall back on it. So my plan is to just kind of get back on my feet and use trucking to get to other avenues that I was potentially going to pursue when I started.
How many months or years or months experience? I think I missed that.
So I got my CDL back in May. So about a little over 6 months of actual experience. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And do you know who you want to drive for? Like they're hiring SAP drivers?
Nah, that's the hard part. I'm thinking might end up doing something in waste management or something like that.
Well, you're on the right show because I got a list for you. I'll send.
Good.
Yep, I'll take care of that. Basically, how we built this list is when I was team driving. Me and my girl at the time, we were taking every company, writing down the numbers and calling them and getting all the information. So the list that you'll see here, I might just pull it up, it'll have like a green check mark for they do, yellow for conditions, red that they don't, and then anything that's not marked, well, we just wrote it down so somebody else can call them, and we didn't do no research on it. So yeah, I'll send that over to you.
Awesome.
A lot of things that's been happening this week that, well, one driver told me that, and it was just blowing the top of my head off how bad he went through scammers. He went through 2 of them. He said that there's now something going on, Brad and Jack, that there's somebody that's impersonating as an employer. Therefore, they register themselves onto the clearinghouse. And they are saying that they can take you through step 6 without having a DOT number. And I couldn't get it. How can somebody go through that elaborate, ruse to do this? And then he said he found some other scammers, a guy that ran off with $100. And the reason why he said the reason why they might be an employer because they had the ability to accept him on the clearinghouse or appear to have the ability.
Interesting.
So what do you guys think of something like that? This
pyramid scheme, possibly. I don't know, because I see those ads too, and it just kind of doesn't make sense. Like, because the only way to do step 6 on your own is if you're an owner operator,
right?
And yeah, it makes as much sense to me as it does to you.
So, with Charles, you were actually somewhat of a victim of one of these scammers when you and I first met as well. And it was funny because that video that Jack actually seen the following week, we're like, yo, watch out for the scammer. Someone trying to impersonate Charles Irby. Like, it was bad.
It was,
it was the worst. And, honestly, something kind of relates to what he said with the ads. That's not really a new thing. Trucking companies that are really bad, like from the rumors say, like Super Ego, they will open other companies to kind of like, but it'll all be under the same companies, but they'll run different ads under different company names. So maybe, there might be fake SAP counselors kind of doing that thing and trying to run. Yeah, it's owned by one, but run by many, I guess.
So they have an umbrella and they house a lot of different scams under the same umbrella. Or how would you put it? How would you guys?
No, I think you're right. It's just it's confusing how elaborate and the distance they go to in order to pop somebody for $100. Or more, obviously more. So the only way I can see it, Jack, is that they will just mail merge or whatever you would call it. Just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Just flood an area like Facebook and see if they can get as many as they can. So, Jack, when you found that video, how did it? I mean, did you hear about any of the scams first, or did you just like?
No,
what brought you? Were like, where were you like? Us, you know what? He seems legit, genuine. Like,
yeah, I was just, I don't know. I had heard other people talk about Mr. Charles as well, and how he was able to get them back on the road and through step 1 through 4 quickly, and how he stayed with them. So I was like, you know what? And Mr. Charles is kind of a, what do you call it, trailblazer in terms of his cost effectiveness with the SAP program, because you're told, are you going to have to pay $1,000 for the SAP fee, $1,000 for education, pay for your drug tests? Mr. Charles's was pretty affordable, and I just kind of thought, what the hell? I mean, let's just see what Mr. Charles is about.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I think it's really sad though that the lack of education out there. That's what the show's all about, helping people get all the information out. But that you don't need to pay for every single thing that you do in the SAP program. You don't need to pay thousands and thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars for like every class. I mean, I've heard of SAP counselors charging up to $5,000.
Oh,
yeah.
Holy smoke. That's, I did cut my teeth when I first started about 9 years ago with a broker agency out of Baltimore. Baltimore had a lot of these brokers, and I won't say their name, but Jack just said, "Oh, yeah," and they're well known, and they were the ones that teach you the game of how to be a SAP, all the ins and outs as a, in the beginning, but they also teach you the game of the riffraff of sending you to counselor, treatment, provider, and everybody get a piece, and I immediately, after 2 or 3 times, I got away from those people and just went ahead and became independent. And it left a really bad taste in my mouth because this may sound strange, but it seems like when you talk to them, it was just a whole auditorium of mean girls. Young girls that were really hated drivers, and they knew the game inside and out, and they wanted you to play it their way perfectly because they really were the house man. They were the Las Vegas house man. They got all the chips.
I find that kind of like disturbing in a way. They've literally made a scientific formula of their plan to be like, everything straight formula or straight formation, right? As the broker agency, that to try to get every penny they can from drivers. And it's really sucky because crappy. It's really crappy because they're not helping. They're taking advantage of a bad situation.
Yeah, they are. They're taking advantage. A lot of it is when they're well known, and they saturated the market with marketing, very good marketing. So they will get a lot of calls from employers, and they will play the sales manipulation game to the T. They give you that FOMO, you're missing out, or they give you an introductory price that's reasonable until you get signed up, and then here come the charges.
Yep.
Those type of things, pure manipulation to get you in the door and trap you. And it was pretty ugly, especially when you're on the other side, not as an employer or a person that's a buyer, but somebody that's working alongside of them as a SAP that they hire. And you hear the underground behind the closet door talk, and boy, did they make suckers feel like, so it was bad, you guys.
You have anything to say, Jack?
I mean, kind of sounds like, might get heat for this, but it kind of sounds like American healthcare. Everyone, we got to make sure everyone gets a piece.
Okay, he opened up.
Right.
We are all fighting with healthcare nowadays. You notice that?
Oh my gosh. Yo. All right, Charles. Jack. So I'm gonna. It's funny that you talk about that because you know how that whole thing happened in New York.
Oh, sadly, yeah.
There was a trucking company CEO that just got noped out of existence by one of his drivers. So
what happened?
Well, you guys talk for a minute. I'll pull it up on the screen here shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack, if you got any more points,
I got something. Yeah, Jack, you got something.
Oh,
I didn't want to open that can of worms, but yeah, it sounds familiar.
It sounds related. The whole scam is all related. Right. It's the same concept. Like, I was looking through the news, and the FMCSA since 2019 did not have a permanent director or boss. They had interim bosses. They finally hired, and they went months and months and months with just winging it with nobody's at the chair. And we found out in March they hired a permanent boss that lasted 2 weeks.
Oh,
2 weeks. And so she quit.
Sorry, I got this up right here. Yeah, so Mr. Irby or Mr. Jack, this is the video right here of the trunk company CEO found murdered in burning building in Crestwood.
He was a big guy, but his heart was even bigger. Always smiling, cracking the joke.
Pastor Tony Jasewski has known Dane Koteski since 1998, when he was just a teenager and became a member of the Macedonian Orthodox Church in Willowbrook.
He was young, trying to do his best, working hard, and he did his best to achieve and accomplish American dream.
Starting out as a truck driver, Koteski later became a business owner of ATG Truckload in Crestwood, where the 46-year-old was found murdered last Wednesday. Police say they received a call just after 4 p.m. of heavy smoke in the building near South Costner and Midlothian Turnpike. Once the fire was put out, they found Koteski's body on the second floor. An autopsy later determined he died from a stab wound to the neck.
This is extremely sad that a neighbor would be killed. I mean, this is just beyond horror.
Investigators say after receiving leads, they located the suspect, who is an employee of the victim, 240 miles away at a truck stop in Holland, Michigan, and took him into custody.
This is very sad that we live in a world that can be so dangerous.
A little bit long. I could have fast forwarded, but yeah. I don't got no words.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of stunned too. They're playing for keeps. Now, it was why would you stab them in the neck? Just that part sounds like either it was a crime of passion, somebody that knew them, they knew each other well. For you to get stabbed in the neck, you're mad. You're very angry.
So I'm going to pull up the other link for CDL Life. The story goes that the driver did not get his paycheck and that the company was filing bankruptcy. And I think they're behind like $250,000 or something like that. That's the story, but I'm going to get the actual facts up here.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, but it just has to be with paychecks, man. I mean, even in the trucking world, you're going to have days, Jack. As you know, you drove for six months, but getting back on the road as a SAP driver, it's going to be tough because one thing Charles and I had talked about is companies are going to try to take advantage of you.
Definitely.
They're just be very careful. They know that you're a SAP driver. They know that you might struggle, especially having only 6 months. A lot of smaller companies that hire SAP drivers require 2 years. But whatever you do, don't get back on the SAP program again.
There's a lot of issues going on with drivers, with employers. One driver was just rattling them off to me, and I wrote them down. He said the number one thing is the pay. It's not consistent, and you guys jump in at any time as I say these things. All these things I'm about to mention, is about 7 of them. As a SAP, they're relevant because if you get tortured emotionally by your job, you're going to drink and drug. You got to put out that fire of emotions somehow. And that's how you eventually end up in the SAP process in the first place, because of unstable emotions going on in your life. So as a SAP, I want to talk about these things, and you guys, let's hold that right there. And another one is, you both are drivers. What about having more time at home? Home time is very limited for drivers. Does that affect you guys?
I mean, I can't really speak to that. I mean, it was just a really stupid mistake that got me in the SAP program. I mean, it was, my run was a little grueling. What I did is I went to Maine and back, from Bangor, Maine, from Dayton, Ohio. Every week I'd go up there, pick up auto parts, bring them back. I mean, it was 4 days on, 3 days off. So I had the home time I wanted and needed. So, and it was a great company, Carter Express. They took great care of me, and I got a weekly minimum every week, and they had great benefits. So I really can't lie and say I didn't get enough home time, because Carter took really good care of me, and I just feel really bad for letting them down because my trainers were great and everyone in the company was great. So,
would they hire you back?
Oh no, I don't think so. Yeah, they let me go immediately.
Okay, another one is he mentioned was issues with dispatchers. What do you guys think about that? That caused a lot of turmoil.
Oh yeah.
All right. So let me, Charles, this thing right here, this topic, I think we all can go all day on. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. 1, miscommunication.
Okay.
2, if they're not truck drivers, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like ex-truck drivers becoming dispatchers. 3, high expectancy to do almost impossible things. That they'll guilt trip you to make you do something. I think we've all seen that video where that one dispatcher was guilt tripping that big guy in that truck when he was literally falling asleep, and he was trying to tell him, "Yo, I'm very tired. I can't drive no more. You're gonna have to go, or you're gonna have to report to the company," and blah blah blah. Crazy video, but
wow,
that's my thoughts on it.
Wow, Jack, you got anything about dispatching?
Yeah, I mean, as great as I just supported Carter was, the communication at my home terminal was pretty non-existent. I mean, I eventually kind of had like a personal relationship with one of them, and she knew everything that was going on and kind of took care of me. But yeah, other than that, it was like, I'm calling to see when I first started, I was running the board and instructions weren't always clear. And I'm like calling them on like the weekends, like, hey, what load am I doing this week? And all that kind of stuff. And our safety team did well. They said, yeah, dispatch team, their job is to get the load like to delivered as quick as they can over the phone. But safety told us, you're the captain of the ship and it's your CDL. And you have to make those decisions.
That's another
safety at Carter took great care of us too.
But see, in another way, like they're just trying to cover their own butt by telling you that. Because in a way, like that sounds like, oh yeah, I mean it's your CDL. They have to say that.
Right.
They have to. But at the end of the day, the office people, they want to make money because somehow some of them get paid hourly, but some of them get paid per load, So, that's more brokers, I want to say. I don't know. There's certain companies out there that use a dispatch service, so they get charged like by the load.
Right.
But, Charles? Did we lose him?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. It was an internet problem. That wasn't us. That was Xfinity or something. So yeah.
Okay. Well, good. So, anything else on that? What else we got on that list, Charles?
The pay. Now, the pay. You guys just run with this one. This has been something that's been very big with drivers that caused them a lot of emotional turmoil. Sometimes, what do you guys think?
Murdered CEO owed substantial amount of money. All right, just gonna.
I mean, we're not laughing at him, but
right.
that answers the question right there.
I'm sorry to make a joke out of something so serious, but let's be real. As a SAP driver, we talked about this the other week too, Charles. They get paid less than some companies will pay them like 10 cents less just for being a SAP driver. Everybody else will be making 72 cents a mile. One company will be making 62 cents a mile or 65 to 55, So pay, I feel like is a very thin line, even if you're not a SAP driver. Because there is a lot of thin margin in trucking. It's not just the companies, but it's also the brokers, the warehouses, and everybody has to have their hand in the pockets of truckers.
So it's a thin margin.
What
do you think, Jack? Has pay ever gave you the the rot gut feeling?
Not personally. I made good weekly minimum, but one thing my trainer said, he goes, the money you make in trucking should be kind of comparable to the stress you take on. Like heavy haulers and oversized loads obviously make more than us, but do you really want to take that stress on? Like you can be willing to take less money if it's reasonable for what you're actually doing.
I really like that saying, Charles and Jack. That I haven't thought about it like that. Like you could be sitting and driving, just a drive-in, never have to get out of the truck, and yeah, you shouldn't really get paid. There's that layer of the heavy haulers, like you said, the flatbedders, the fuel tank haulers, and then there's the dry van. So yeah.
Well, another thing, what do you guys think about truck problems and equipment and maintenance? He mentioned that was huge. That really just grind the gears out of drivers. Just really take.
I mean, it's nerve wracking the whole. I mean, even if you think your truck's running good, you don't know what could happen and break down. I mean, I broke down, I think, and one time I broke down because the engine belt broke because the inverter was bad on my Freightliner, and I was on the side of I-90 outside of Syracuse, and they're like, I mean, you need a bunch of special permits if you're actually going to work on the side of I-90 in New York. So I got towed and all that. I mean, I ended up getting another driver coming back from Maine was able to pick me up and take me with them. And then the next week, another driver was able to take me back during his run. And I was able to get my truck back. And then another time, I was hoping to wake up early and get going so I wouldn't hit traffic in all the cities I went through. But I woke up and the cold killed my battery. So it put me back like 3 hours, and I was hitting Columbus at a terrible time and all that. So that stress was kind of always in the back of my mind, even if my truck was running fine. It had like 700,000 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So about the mileage thing, man, a lot of the companies, bigger ones, they'll trade in right before 500,000 miles because of that warranty, so you're hitting 700,000 miles, that warranty's done. Now it's going to start falling apart on you and all that. So here's the thing, I don't mind breakdowns. I never found it stressful unless the company tries to blame you for it. But half the time, like if you didn't do nothing, and like, or even if you did, they won't. They'll take care of it, right? The breakdown pay kind of alleviated the stress of it. They'll get you a hotel. They'll get you an Uber there. They'll pay you just to sit there while your truck gets fixed. Not every company, but most of them.
Wow.
So no stress by getting a hotel and just relaxing. But you know what they say: if you ain't turning, you ain't earning.
Right.
Here's one that I couldn't quite understand, but he was adamant about it. Aging drivers. Now, what do you guys make of that? Did they get on your nerves, or what are the aging drivers doing in the industry that you guys know of?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask him. What did he mean by that? Older drivers. Either he wanted them out of the industry, or they were doing something that was causing a disruption. I wouldn't know what it could be.
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of racism with kind of like the older generation.
Okay.
In trucking. And I mean this no disrespect to some of you guys, older guys out there, but there are a lot of foreign drivers, but the ones that like that have the turban on their head, the Sikhs, wonderful people, very kind, just very kind-hearted people. And you go in the Facebook groups or even hear talk at the truck stop, somebody try to mention something to you, just like, bro, they'll call them terrorists or Iraqis or like just the stereotypes, and just a lot of ignorance. I'm sure the people thinking that about them is they might not be racist, they might not have a certain feeling about them, but they are ignorant of facts. right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing I could think of is you kind of can respect how they worked back then, right? They didn't have the GPSs, the maps. They had to use pay phones for everything. It was a harder time back then, and they got so used to it that now everything is changing, and they don't like that, right? So they kind of throw off this attitude. Oh, they should have kept it like this back in the day. We did this, and so maybe some of them come off just kind of rude, just because they did it better back then.
Yeah, my trainer Will, he said, I was asking him about CB radios, and he said, well, cell phones kind of killed that. And I said, well, so should I still have a CB radio? He goes, and then he says, well, you get on there and it's just older drivers like complaining about politics.
Okay.
Like,
So,
not really helpful.
Can we have a discussion about that real quick, Charles? The CB radios?
Talk.
For sure.
All right. So he's 100% correct. Like, it is a bunch of older drivers, but not all of them that have a CB radio are older. My buddy Dylan, he is upset. He's younger than me, obsessed with CBs, knows everything you need to know about a CB and hooking them up, what kind they are, what parts to get, how to tune them. And he's a truck driver. So there might be a trend of them coming back just because of all the old heads saying you need a CB, you need a CB. And in my opinion, you do need a CB. Those same old heads that you hear will also be the same ones telling you, hey, there's going to be a wreck, up front. Get in the right lane because the left lane's blocked, vice versa. Hey, we got Smokey down the road. So you might not hear it as much these days, but let's make it a trend. Let's bring CBs back.
Definitely.
Wow. Well, the last one he talked about, and you guys mentioned it briefly, and it's probably one of the biggest ones, unmet expectations. When you first get hired, you get one set of expectations from the employer, and tell me about it.
I made a whole YouTube video on this, but I'm going to let Jack go first.
my expectations of just getting into driving.
Wait, real quick, did you work for only one company, Jack?
Yeah, I only worked for Carter Express.
Oh, and you were happy with them. Okay. What he's saying is like if a company tells you that, we'll pay you this much, but they don't, or they'll give you this many miles. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I can't really relate to that much.
Damn, you really had a good company.
I know, I really messed up. Yeah, and I was a new driver, and they trained me well and all that. So, yeah.
Well,
Brad, let us have it. Tell us what you.
All right, yo, you're bringing up because I've made a lot of videos on this stuff, Charles. Like I've talked, you're bringing up my section 100%, man.
Yeah.
So I apologize if I'm taking the show a little bit, but
no, talk to us.
Right.
This is what affects a lot of drivers, and it has a big effect on recovery and alcohol and smoking weed. So talk to us. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Okay. What was the question again? Expectations, guys. The wow factor. That's what I've always called it. You open a pamphlet, you go to a truck stop, you see the little pamphlets on the walls, and they tell you, oh, we'll give you this many miles a week. We'll pay you this much a week. Oh, you'll be, get this much home time. We'll split it. Oh, and then the biggest one, the hiring bonus and paid training. Let's talk about both of them for one moment, shall we? We'll go with the paid training. Paid training basically means, hey, we'll train you, but you're going to have to work for us for a certain amount of time. There's sorry, I'm trying to think of the gold truck company. Who was it? They're famous for this.
KL.
Is it KL? No, not that one.
No idea.
Yeah, it's the other ones that drive the Freightliners. Anyway, regardless, Swift actually does it, and I think even Knight does. Swift Knight, they do it. So, paid training, get ready to be working for them. It's not, they don't give you the full details. Oh, leasing from a company. They will tell you that leasing with them is like the greatest thing. Spend $1,000, pay a couple fees, we'll get you the loads. and that's $1,000 a week, Charles. They'll charge you for a truck, if not more, right? And that's if it's used or new. If it's new, it's probably even more. The leasing, basically, they'll say, yeah, it's only this much a week. We'll pay for the insurance. We'll pay for the trailer. You might have to pay the ELD, you might not. Good luck in this economy booking a load and keeping your lease, because the freight market isn't there, and they're always going to take the company trucks that they pay first before they book you a load. So you're always going to get the bottom end of the totem pole for lease loads. And then what else was the other one? The training, the leasing. Oh, hiring bonus. Biggest scam. Well, not really a scam, but load of bullshit. This is my last one, Charles. I can go on, but I'm going to keep it just. So the hiring bonus, they'll tell you, I think USA or Western Express did this one. $10,000 hiring bonus. 1 month at a time, $100, $200. So imagine how long it's going to take you to get that $10,000. Then they'll put it all big, $5,000 sign-up bonus. That you're not getting that the same day that you're hired. It might take you up to a year, like rail transport did. They spread it out too long. So just watch that. It's not really a big expectation, but it's like, oh, I'll have that on my check type thing. All right, I'm done.
One more thing about expectations. I don't know if this could be a subcategory of that or its own category. I thought I'd be ready for the different conditions and stuff that came with driving, but winter going up northeast was way more grueling than I expected it. This year, Erie, Pennsylvania was getting more snow than they knew what to do with. Mm-hmm. So the stress of the winter and dangerous conditions about that can really add to the stress of possibly looking for something to kind of mitigate that.
And the stress of finding parking in general, summer, rain, summer, winter, fall, especially on the East Coast. So, well, Charles, you just opened up a can of worms, man.
Well, I guess it's all related to this article too, CD Life article of the murdered CEO. These are the things that drivers have to deal with emotionally, and it really burned his candle all the way down, and he took care of that. He dealt with that owner in the wrong way, but these are the things that a lot of drivers are going through that a lot of SAPs need to really be aware of, especially during the assessment period, talking to drivers. Yep. They just don't up and be getting high and smoking. There's a lot to this industry that wears on people, and they need to talk about it.
Mental health.
Mental health.
It's crazy that some people don't know everything about truck driving. Everything I just explained to you guys, that wow factor, people don't know about that. And if someone gets fired from a company, one, they probably went to a company, not fired, but like failed a drug test at a company. They probably thought, okay, well, now I don't get a paycheck, and now I got to spend the thousands of dollars on a SAP counselor because they don't have that information. And the SAP counselors that do charge that, they don't know that driver didn't make nothing. They just think, oh, he's a truck driver, he's got lots of money. Every week ain't going to be the same paycheck.
Yeah. That's a policy with me that I made sure I stay with it from the very beginning. It's not to price gouge or price drivers out of the SAP process. The only thing that was a detriment to that is that they see my prices are so low, they think I'm a low value, because of they associate that with having a low value process for them. And that's everybody know that's the furthest thing from the truth when they deal with me.
I'm going to make that a clip because Charles, we've never talked about that or thought about it, man. Just because it's lower value, like just because you don't charge that much doesn't mean that you're like you do just as much, actually more than any SAP counselor I know of out there. So, and you charge a reasonable rate. It's sad that we live in a country that you have to spend a lot of money for it to be good. No, what happened to just fair prices? Like the Costco hot dog, the Arizona iced tea,
right.
like
Yeah. A lot of people just associate high prices with higher quality, and it's not necessarily with me. So they get misled by that. But one of the drivers, he told me, he said, you have Saks Fifth Avenue service at Walmart prices. And I think that's a pretty good tagline for what Mr. Charles and Focus 7 do. Saks Fifth Avenue quality with everyday low prices. So when a driver gets a SAP violation, they have to the employer or the MRO has posted it on the clearinghouse. Typically, it will be the employer. Okay, the employer by law is supposed to give them a list of at least 3 SAPs to get them started. That typically doesn't happen. So now Jack is going through some places to call me or call someone, and it comes down with they will contact me, and I tell them, my process is very simple and straightforward. You got to tell people up front exactly what to expect. Is in 3 parts. Part 1, an assessment over the phone takes very little time, very relaxed. Step 2, you're going to do either treatment or a drug awareness course. Your treatment typically won't be a 28-day stay in somebody's treatment center unless the provider says, hey, this guy really needs it. I will have them find a place, and I will help them find a place that's either free or on a sliding scale. That's very important to go to treatment like that. And it's going to be an intensive outpatient where you're only going to go in for classes. You're going to do 2 to 3 classes a week. They last about maybe 90 minutes, over maybe an hour. You sit around in a group or maybe have an individual counselor, and you talk about your issues. Now the driver feels a little bit relaxed if it's mandated that I have him go to treatment, because he knows now it's not going to be a 28-day stay in somebody's treatment center, and he's away from home and what he's going to do now. So that helps a lot.
I don't mean to interrupt, Charles. Yeah. When that I think what a lot of drivers also feel with that treatment thing is, oh, I don't have a job no more. I don't have insurance.
Yeah.
And those treatments can be expensive. So now they gotta get the insurance, set up, or maybe they didn't have a good savings account. So it could be like a hard process to get into that treatment. But if they're wanting to get the life back, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, it's a good thing I got experience with that to give them the insight and the ins and outs on how to get treatment relatively easy and very affordably. You make sure you deal with the county that you're dealing with. The county health departments of most major cities would have a community of treatment centers that's sponsored by them, paid for by the state. And they will take people in either free or on a sliding scale.
That's what, okay.
And you want to stay in that area. And the treatments are typically pretty good. The providers are great. They work with you really good. And they understand SAP clients. A lot of them do. They understand.
Have you had to do this several times? Like, I mean, I know it's not. I know a lot of people fail for like marijuana and stuff, but have you had like somebody?
At any point in time, I would have as many as 6 in treatment. Now, I got about 3 right now, but I always have those that they mention that word, cocaine, and I drill down on it a little bit, and yeah, cocaine is something, and then meth, yeah, those are the guys that you really want to get started on recovery. You just can't go to treatment. It's time for you to have a new design of life and a new way of thinking. Cocaine just don't go away, and you just don't get it. The little stories I hear don't hold water, and it's it's like, oh boy, here we go. The cocaine lies, but that's the way it is. So cocaine and meth and the others, I have them go to treatment. And a lot of my drivers that do go to treatment, to the intensive outpatient treatment, and being around in a circle, a bunch of chairs in a circle, and talk to others, they end up being lack of a better word, the rock stars of the group, So because of all that experience as a truck driver, they just have a lot of experience in life, and they help a lot of younger people that's dealing with addiction as in the counseling group. So, I have them go through that. And I always tell them, and I get some blowback from this, but it's important for drivers that's going through the SAP process to know the expectations. And it is possible that you could go through my process as fast as 2 to 3 days, and I send you right back out to employers. That's important. That's not some kind of gimmick or sales pitch. That's important for somebody like Jack to know that that's possible.
That was probably the biggest thing for me.
Talk to us, Jack, when I told you that.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm going to pull up that playlist up here for you.
Now, for marijuana, there's no really sound treatment center. There are places. Yes.
I'm sorry, but I probably because marijuana is so like with the legality of it now, and the fact that there's never been a death because of marijuana.
Yes.
I've heard of a lot of people addicted, like legit addicted, but not to a point of they're doing with like the cocaine heads or whatever, doing just I don't know. I always find stoners harmless, but that's just me.
Dazed, they're confused, they can't do anything to you, right? But you are right. It's marijuana in the society is still looked upon as a recreational drug. And when you get behind closed doors, attorneys and doctors and judges, everybody's smoking a little bit. Everybody's smoking a little bit, So nobody's going to be wagging their finger at you. However, the strains of marijuana is so potent right now. There are people that get withdrawal symptoms from it. They get addicted to marijuana. However, it's been very effective for marijuana users that get SAP violations to go to intensive outpatient treatments and go in for a couple of weeks and come out, and they typically do well because they make a decision and they judge, I'm letting this weed get into trouble, interfering with this big paycheck I can get. And they make an instant decision, especially men. They say, I'm ready to put this down, or I'm going to play the cat and mouse game really well, but I'm not going to get popped for marijuana. That's stupid. That is really stupid. I think Jack, did you used to tell me, you told me a few things about this?
I was going to ask Jack if he wanted to share what he failed, if I may. If you want to, you don't have to share it.
Yeah, well, it was THC, and it's just, Ohio, we voted, I think November or something like that, 2023 to legalize or not. And that's when I made the decision I want to become a truck driver, but obviously I was smoking back then and I was getting off of it and all that stuff because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I even voted against it in the state of Ohio because even right now, even though they legaled it, there's a state bill in Ohio that is trying to kind of cut back everything down, even though they legalized it. And just, last thing you need as a truck driver who used to smoke is dispensaries popping up everywhere. Like I know it's not
a valid point.
It's not. I know it's like not kind of like physically addicting and stuff, but getting home from a grueling week in a tough winter, and it's like,
We've talked about that, like the legalization in trucking and why they could, why they couldn't. And Charles, what was our conclusion that you don't know how long it's been in your system for? You take that P test, but you could smoke in a weekend and still, or wait a few days and still fail, depending on what you smoke, because it stays in your fatty cells.
Right.
So, and that's the only thing I believe is holding the whole legalization federally up. Especially for truck drivers. So
is testing for impairment.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm in great shape. I work out a lot. I sweat a lot. I think I have a great metabolism, but it's just such a stubborn metabolite that lives in those fat cells. Until Mr. Charles really explained it in one of his videos. I think it was the video of you talking about the downgrade. You just never really think about it until you're the one that's popped for it.
Yeah. The downgrade has affected a lot of truck drivers and affected a lot of SAPs. It turned the industry upside down.
Explain the downgrade.
The downgrade of the states are now able to communicate electronically with the federal government, the clearinghouse. Before they couldn't talk to each other. Now they can talk to each other, and that changed everything. Now they're able to instantly downgrade your CDL back to just a regular license until you do go through this, which caused so much confusion in the industry. And I still get calls today after all this explaining I try to do in videos that people still, the word still hasn't saturated to get out there that your license is not taken away. It's just somewhat suspended until you do go through this process. Then it's restored back to its normal level of a CDL driver. So I'd have to tell them in the beginning of the assessment is 1, 2, 3, assessment, drug awareness, course of treatment, and then give me a drug screen to make sure that you I'm releasing you with a clean system. There's some SAPs, and I don't think it's many, but they release a lot of drivers that still have metabolites in their system. They go and get hired and go to the return to duty process and get a second violation. And they call the SAP and raise holy hell, and it might be the SAP's fault when you think about it. So I make sure I put that guardrail in place that I release you out of the system where we both confident. We both agree that, I'm releasing you with a clean system. That's very important.
Here's the thing. If you guys are going to smoke weed, don't drive. Don't be a truck driver. There are plenty of good jobs out there that will hire you if you smoke weed. Like it's so acceptable. Just weed and trucking do not mix right now at all.
No.
As much as it sucks not be able to come home, smoke a doobie and relax, it's the law. Charles, it's funny. I had another person on TikTok actually message me because they seen one of our older videos, and they said that they failed for the hair follicle.
Yeah.
But they passed the P test, and they thought because they asked for like, I need your help with SAP. I was like, I asked them the same thing. Do you need a SAP counselor or a job? They said both. So I sent them all your information. I sent them all my information, but I was getting more information about what they failed, like or how did they fail their drug test. And I got the story. It says I passed my P test, but not my hair test. And I said, oh, you're fine. The hair follicle is not a FMCSA issue. A company might say violation of company policy under DAC.
Right.
But if you fail a hair follicle, guys, like you're fine. It does not go in the clearinghouse. I can't stress this enough.
That's right. I'm glad you mentioned that. The worst thing that's going to happen to you when you fail a hair follicle test is that you just won't get that job. And it can be, legally their company policy that they just won't hire you, and they can use a hair follicle test to screen you out, which is a history. It's not, you can have a really clean system. Typically, you can have a real clean system. However, it's a history, and they found, a couple of months ago, your hair stores that data, that you use drugs. Yeah. So, but you will not get you fail a hair follicle test, you cannot get a violation posted on the clearinghouse. And here's another thing a lot of people didn't realize. You cannot get a violation posted on you if you got a refusal for pre-employment. Yeah, if you go in for pre-employment looking for a job, and for one reason or another, it comes out as a refusal, it should not get posted on the clearinghouse. Now, if you guys got any information out there in the atmosphere out there, in the ethos that's looking at this podcast, and you got a different opinion or different information, make sure you post it in the comments. But as I read it, you cannot get posted for a pre-employment. You cannot get a refusal with you going in for a pre-employment posted on the clearinghouse.
See, I didn't know that.
I did not know that at all.
Yeah, it's one of those little secret things that only certain SAPs that got experience kind of realize. Just like you cannot get a violation if you're in training, pre-employment, and you're going through the training. You just sitting in the cab with the driver, and for whatever reason, you got popped. I have to look at it again, but you cannot get a violation posted if you're going through training. There's all kind of little things.
I want to share something with you guys. Just a little advertising. We have created a Reddit account. It's going to be called the SAP Driver's Guide. It's already ready for you guys. We got our rules. We got our basically what we're about. But you guys go if you have a question, go post it to our Reddit. Go follow us. It's a new Reddit. Yeah. We're just now ready for it. It's just r/SAP Driver's Guide on Reddit, and I will be sure to check everything. I can ask Charles, hey, what's the answer to this? Yeah. Or if I know it, I will answer it, and then we can start rolling our information, like this information, out a lot more, because the misinformation it's enough.
It is.
So yeah.
Just like the misinformation about you really going to lose your license, that information is out here really thick, and it's got to be disproven. You will not lose your license, truck drivers. My CDL holders, when you get a SAP violation and you get a letter from the state, you will not lose your license. You still basically got your CDL. Go through the SAP process and get it restored back to its normal level.
The amount of misinformation that went around when they said that, SAP drivers are going to lose their CDL in November. I sat there in silence. Like, I tried to tell people how it was going to be, but it kept coming in waves. I see TikTok videos, YouTube videos. People made comments of, your CDL is going away in November if you're on the SAP program, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just sitting there because just me trying to, reassure everybody it wasn't enough. And lo and behold, here we are now.
I had a driver this week tell me that he went and turned himself in. So what do you turn yourself in for? He went to the DMV and turned himself in. Here's my CDL. He actually said that. I said, man, no. It don't work like that. So all my drivers out there, please know, two things happen to you when you get a SAP violation concerning a state. You get prohibited. That means you cannot use your CDL when you get a SAP violation. It's called, you cannot do safety sensitive duty. That means everybody with a CDL, not just the drivers, but mechanics get somewhat of a CDL. Everybody that does safety sensitive duty gets somewhat of a CDL or a certification or a license like that. You cannot use it. You got to stay home and watch Jerry Springer on Roku. Basically you can't use your CDL or you can't get caught using it.
See, and
until you go through this process.
The law has been out there way before November. It was just state regulated. Yeah. Arizona, when my SAP violation happened, it was downgraded in Missouri, right? Because I still had a Missouri license. And then when I went to switch it over to Arizona, I couldn't for some reason, so I had to go back to Missouri, get a release form. It was a mess. But I mean, regardless, my license was downgraded, and then
it gets downgraded. You get prohibited and you get downgraded. I'm going to repeat: when you get a SAP violation, you get prohibited. You got to stay home, and you get downgraded. That downgrading is to give you the incentive to, if you want your job, go through the SAP process. That's what that's about. And the state is involved. And safety sensitive duty, it runs across the board with all modes of transportation. Flight attendants, the ones that's pushing the Coca-Cola down the aisle, that's a safety sensitive duty. Pilots, safety sensitive duty. Pipeline, people that's pipe fitters, safety sensitive duty. People on the railroad, railroad workers, safety sensitive duty. They're all over the place, hazmat, etc. So just call me, and we're going to post my numbers on the
I get it. Yep.
404-620-1944. Call Mr. Charles. And when you do, I'm going to give you some more good news. My SAP fee, it's among the most affordable in the nation. I repeat, my SAP fee is among the most affordable in the nation. Don't get it twisted. Just because it's a low fee don't mean it's low quality. You're going to get great quality with me. But it's important for me personally to have a policy of not to overcharge people that's out of work.
Damn.
So SAP fee is only $400 using Zelle, $415 using Cash App, You could use PayPal or a credit card over the phone, and we get it done. And if it's marijuana, typically you're going to get a drug awareness course online, and me and you're going to have a good talking. But, it's going to be just $25 to register online for the drug awareness course online. So, and you're going to give me a drug screen. Total out of pocket, drivers. Listen, your total out of pocket is going to be under $500. You could go through the SAP process with me for under $500, and everything is with me. I'm not passing you on to another counselor, another provider, another this, and another that. Nobody's going to be getting chunks out of you. I'm just pushing you down the line. No, you'll deal with me. That's very important, that I want to have integrity with my business. Low fee, low SAP fee for drivers out of work. Number two, you deal only with me.
Yeah, I mean, I already completed step 4, and SAPs only have to stay with you through step 1 through 4. And here's Mr. Charles and I still talking. I can still hit him up, and I can still ask for advice, and he can still help me out. So, I mean, what does that say? I'm really glad you created Reddit for SAP drivers, because a lot of SAP drivers, including myself, when they do get popped, they go to Reddit truckers, and
they just blast you. They make fun of you.
Misinformation, or you're a stupid drug addict. You should have known this. Like, yeah, I did.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
So, good thing you're out of trucking. It's like, geez, man.
Yeah. Real quick, speaking of the Reddit, I didn't promote the Reddit at all. I guess we did already get somebody trying to recruit drivers. Now, I never thought about adding a recruiting section on the Reddit for SAP drivers. Because some guy here already posted, he says, if you're looking for a job, message me. I'll get you on with the company. I work out of Dalton, Georgia. You must be ready for the RTD step, $4,500 sign-on bonus.
I might have heard of that company. It might be called the Rosedale Group. I'm not sure.
Oh, the Rosedale Group.
Yeah.
It just says UH Barry. That's the username, but he didn't put the name for the company.
Right.
And I'm not opening his profile because it says something about 18 plus. I'm good.
Right.
So yeah, again, guys, post on Reddit. Me and Charles we'll go through everything, and we're also going to get the Twitter set up too, Charles. We got to do that next.
Yeah.
X nowadays.
X.
Yeah.
And maybe a Facebook group page, but I need more moderators for that, because me just trying to do everything here and then my job, and then it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. You're doing a lot of work, and then there's other people that's really pulling on you. It's not just me, but you're turning into a full-fledged agency on your own. So,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if I go on TikTok, I mean, every day 10, 15 messages, and I'm still trying to catch up on some messages, because when I go missing from TikTok for a few days. So
when you got integrity and you care about what you're doing and you care about people, I'm not trying to be church or anything, but God noticed that, and He honors that. And I'd get employers calling me saying, could you advertise for me? I need 3 drivers, or I'm hiring drivers. Could you get the word out? That's nothing but the spiritual world acknowledging Focus 7 and Charles Irby, and Brad and all of us. We're getting acknowledgement.
Charles, I mean, you listen, Charles. You lay the foundation. You help people get that belief that the relief that they're going to make it. They're going to be okay. I'm just the guy that kind of takes the final step. All right, well, can I help you get a job? Can I give you some advice? Watch out for this company. I'm just the advice guy, I guess you could say. So.
No, you're not. It's not just because I play my post and play my position as a SAP, but then when it comes to this industry, we need somebody like Brad that orbits the entire thing: employment, employers, trucks, the obstacles with these guys and their behavior. All these things matter in the whole atmosphere of this industry that we work in. It's not just SAP.
I got to use my 10 years experience somewhere, man, because I ain't on the road right now. So
yeah, and we really like and thank Jack for being with us and really disclosing information and being honest with you. We really appreciate that, Jack. Thank you.
No problem. This is my first podcast, and I'm on here talking about something that's not easy to talk about whatsoever. Yeah. But you guys have really cultivated the atmosphere to kind of settle me down and be comfortable talking about it and helping
me out. What we want, man.
Great.
Yeah, and we are on Spotify, YouTube, of course. Everything gets uploaded to YouTube first because it takes me a lot longer to download the audio to put it everywhere else. But we're on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Haven't got the Apple podcast yet because I need a cloud account, blah, blah, blah. But YouTube is our primary. So
yes, YouTube is our primary. And notice one of these things with me and Brad. We when you go through my SAP process with me, Mr. Charles, you're getting a low fee handed to you. So, that ought to make you feel better. Also, you're going to get a list of consortiums. Now, this is something that I got from my peers that, why are you doing that? That ain't none of your business. It is my business. If I want to give you added value for this little $400, I got a right to do it. And I want to do it. And it's important that this information gets out there. Me and Brad have been doing it a long time, and it's just not saturating out there. You can always talk to consortiums and have them do step 5 for you for a small fee legally. Either it's 2 people that's going to get step 5 done for you. And step 5 is the big step. It's the return to duty step. If you are prohibited, which you are, step 5 cleans that up. You become valid. Your licenses become valid. If you got downgraded by your state, step 5 reinstates you back to your normal level. Step 5 does it all for you. It cleans up your license. When you get hired, step 5 is done by the employer. If you do not find an employer, at least in a significant amount of time, you can always call a consortium and they can do step 5 for you for a small fee. So one way or another, step 5, the return to duty step, will clean up your license and you get it done one way or another. You're not lost in the wilderness. I'm trying to get this word out. I'm like Moses on the mountaintop.
Says Moses.
I got a list of consortiums for you to call when you deal with me. So you can ask them questions, so you can have a consortium right at your fingertip. And this is something Brad taught me. I always try to have a somewhat of a hiring list as a starter kit for employers that know me, that ask me about jobs and drivers. I know them. And I get this, I email you a hiring list of drivers that employers that deal with me. And that takes so much edge off when they hear that. And they finally relax and they say, okay, I think I'm ready to go through the SAP process with Mr. Charles.
Here's the thing: if you can't get an employer, email me, go on the Reddit, and I will help you as much as I can. And I don't charge. I should, because I should be like a recruiting agency just for SAP drivers, but I don't. So I just like helping because I don't like people being in the same position I was.
Well, I got that from you. Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I'll be doing step 5 personally tomorrow via a consortium I asked Charles for, and a lot of companies that I do look for, they say we'll do your step 6 follow-up tests, but we don't touch return to duty. So the return to duty step 5 is like the biggest hump, I'd say, and then finding a company.
What I like about I guess you're lucky in a way, for just failing for weed. It's kind of an oxymoron, but most SAP companies will not hire you if you fail for the harder stuff, but they will give you a chance for just marijuana. Now, mind you, they might give you a hair follicle, so you better be able to pass a hair follicle on some of them, because one of the companies I know will hire you at 6 months is CFI, and they do hair follicles. So they're paying good, but like their pay isn't good at all unless you're training or team driving. But it's getting you back on the road till you get your experience up, and then there's other places out there, and hopefully by the time your SAP's done, you'll be free as a bird.
Yeah. There's a lot of employers. Well, a lot of drivers called me this week telling me that I went to an employer and they really thought they were going to hire me until they said that they wanted step 6 to be already done. And they're calling me. Okay, talk to him, Brad.
No, we had that happen because me and my girlfriend, we were at the time trying to get in with there's a company that they will hire SAP drivers after step 6, like, so they know about your past because they can still see it, like, yeah, you're clear, but the company still see your clearinghouse for that one violation. They said you're done with step 6 or good, just making sure that you didn't fail your drug test on something harder, and then they'll pull you in. What was that company? Because they paid really good.
Well, you know, a lot of drivers, at least once a week, call me about that. And me, the SAP, they calling me the SAP when they should be talking to the employer or the clearinghouse. What it means is that when an employer tells you that they will not hire you unless step 6 is done, they're telling you they're not a SAP friendly company. That's what they're telling you. Continue to look elsewhere for a SAP friendly company. That's my opinion, and it's pretty much in concrete. It's true. What else could it mean? They don't want to deal with you in the clearinghouse. They want you to have the clearinghouse already done, and where they don't have to fool with it. No RTD tests, no sending you out to secret randoms, follow-ups. They don't want to do any of that. They're not a SAP friendly company. And they got a right to be that way. You know, legally, they got a right to be that way. They're basically a totally drug-free workplace. So continue to look for employment if you get an employer that tells you, they don't do step 6.
Jack, real quick.
Yeah.
When you do go to your company, if you decide to leave that company for a better one, make sure they transfer your SAP, your follow-ups.
Yes.
Right.
I've had to restart my SAP like 20 times, man.
Yeah.
I've been on for 2 years now. I'm just home because I finished 1 through 5, but every time I go to a company or whatever, they didn't transfer the follow-ups, and I got stuck. Tribe Transportation, I should have been done there. I was there for a year, and I was like, well, what's going on? I did like 2 follow-ups with them. Companies will try to pretty much keep you hostage with those follow-ups. There's the shady.
Yeah, another driver on YouTube who recommended Mr. Charles. I forget his name. It's kind of long, but he said, make sure you keep all of your information on drug tests and just have it on you. Keep all your files on yourself because it can help you.
That's true.
Absolutely.
That's what I get a lot, concerned. You brought up a big one right there, Brad, is that according to the clearinghouse, this is how it's supposed to work. You get a new job. That new employer is supposed to contact the old employer and find out how many follow-ups you've done, and that new employer will do the remaining amount. However, in reality, on planet Earth, when a trucking firm let a driver go, they don't want to have nothing to do with that driver anymore. Most they're gonna hang up the phone on somebody calling to ask about how many follow-ups he did. That driver don't exist to them anymore. They got their mind is somewhere else, and it might be a lot of anger and vindictiveness behind it too. However, that's the reality of it. So what you gonna do? The clearinghouse said if you cannot find out how many follow-ups were already done by the previous employer, the new employer has to start you off from scratch. All those previous follow-ups don't count anymore. You have to start from the very beginning. Now there's a lot of, I see it online, a lot of other SAPs get really anal about this. And if somebody has to do something to keep a driver's employment continuous without a bunch of hurdles and obstacles. That's why I use the word, I stand in the gap, Focus 7, Charles Irby. I will make sure that I will get the return to duty letter with testing schedule to the new employer. See, the old employer is supposed to transmit that information, that report to the new employer. They ain't gonna do it. What? So I make sure I do it. And
the only reason,
go ahead.
Oh, the only reason why it took me so long, because Charles does do that, but the company I worked for shut down. They closed the door, so I couldn't get the information regardless. So I had to restart.
Well, a lot of drivers, they send in their driver letter to the new employer hoping that'll do it. And no, legally that don't do it. The information has to come from the SAP. We're supposed to be the only ones authorized with that information. Is for our eyes only. And we're the only ones supposed to transmit it to other DERs or employers. So I make sure I send it to the new employer. So if you're dealing with Mr. Charles and you're going to a new employer, just text me the email address of your new employer. Put your name in the text, and Mr. Charles, I will send your new employer that return to duty letter with testing schedule, certificate of treatment, or your treatment information, and all the instructions for this new employer, so they know what to do and see it in writing. The instructions: step 1, step 2, step 3. So they're not.
And I got it pulled up on the screen right here too.
Yeah. So I make sure I stand in the gap and make sure that information gets transmitted, because the previous employer, they don't want to deal with this. So the SAP, I will do it for you.
And it still gets to be a lot of work when you get a stack of people, a stack of SAP drivers.
Yeah. So
do it.
Yep. Well, I think we covered a lot today, and
we did. We really did. Well, you got anything you want to say, Jack?
No, just thanks so much for having me and the opportunity to come on here and kind of talk about unfortunate situations and kind of taking the stigma away from it and making it easier to talk about.
Absolutely, man. That's what we're here for. Thank you for coming on and sharing.
Thank you, Jack.
We had a good time, guys. If you want more information, go check out focus7.us and get a hold of Charles if you need a SAP counselor. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Reddit now and other social media platforms coming soon. And of course, you can get us on Spotify or listen to us on Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. I'm Brad Larson, aka Big Trucker B, and this is Mr. Charles Irby. And thank you all for listening and watching. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you, guys.